In a stunning turn of events that has sent shockwaves through the archaeological community, the long-lost tomb of the mythical hero Gilgamesh has emerged from the depths of the Euphrates River. Just 4 minutes ago, a team of intrepid explorers made an astonishing discovery that has the potential to rewrite history as we know it. For centuries, the legendary Gilgamesh has captivated the imaginations of scholars and storytellers alike, his epic adventures and quest for immortality inspiring countless tales of heroism and valor. Let's immerse ourselves in the captivating mysteries of the Euphrates River and the awe-inspiring saga of the mighty hero Gilgamesh. Northeastern Syria has seen an increase of 1 degree Celsius in temperature and a drop of 18 millimeters per month in rainfall over the past century. According to the Iraqi Ministry of Water Resources, the river could dry up by the year 2040. The Euphrates River, considered by many to be the birthplace of civilization, may soon be destroyed due to human activity, causing millions of people to abandon their homes for thousands of years. As the longest and one of the oldest rivers in Western Asia, the Euphrates is an extremely important freshwater source for all of Syria. The fragile and tense situation in the Syrian civil conflict has been aggravated by climate change, which is leaving its mark on the Euphrates. Water levels in the Euphrates River have hit record lows as a result of the drought, putting local residents in danger of disease and displacement. Is it possible to turn things around? The Euphrates has always provided 86% of Syria's agricultural water needs. The river serves as a source for human consumption, agricultural use, and animal husbandry. Religious rituals and attributing ethereal properties to the river are 2 examples of the strong connection the Syrian people feel to this body of water. Since September 2022, starvation and an outbreak of cholera have plagued the region due to low water levels and poor water quality. The flow of the Euphrates and Tigris rivers has dropped to nearly half of its annual average during dry years over the previous few decades. The current level of the Euphrates River is one of the lowest on record. With a growing population and less water to go around, downstream nations like Syria are in a more precarious position when it comes to water supply. Farmers and herders in Syria are especially vulnerable to the effects of prolonged droughts, and many people living in rural areas could be forced to relocate. The FAO reports that since the conflict in Syria began in 2011, the country's wheat harvest has decreased by 75%. Now, over a decade of strife due to the Syrian civil war has passed, and many farmers are battling under terrible economic and security conditions, while also adapting to new realities brought about by the shifting climate. The Euphrates is vital to the existence of the people who will be hardest hit by these shifts. In northeastern Syria, for example, farmers are losing their crops due to contaminated water and a lack of irrigation because of water shortages. One of the challenges that we've seen with respect to recurrent droughts, says Catherine Bliss, Director of Immunizations and Health Systems Resilience at CSIS's Global Health Policy Center, is that people are finding it necessary to either go further to find their water or to seek water from sources that have turned out to be contaminated. When normalcy returns to Iraq, German archaeologists intend to return there to determine whether or not an anomaly in the ground is the famously lost burial of King Gilgamesh, the subject of the world's earliest book. A team led by Germans claims they've unearthed clues that match up with the book's description of the king's burial site. Experts caution that there is still only a theoretical possibility that they've located the grave. The Bavarian Office for Historic Monuments official, Georg Fassbinder from Munich, southern Germany, reports that examinations conducted at the site of the ancient city of Uruk revealed structural remnants. It might be death, he speculated. Some archaeologists have expressed excitement about the possibility that the building sits on the old bed of the Euphrates River. According to the Epic of Gilgamesh, a collection of clay tablets composed roughly 2,500 years before the birth of Christ, Gilgamesh was buried at the bottom of the river following his death. The building sits atop what was likely the Euphrates River's channel in the past. Mr. Fassbinder added there's only one place where there is a building structure, albeit much of the area is yet to be explored. He cautioned against overconfidence. Although it might be interpreted as a tomb, we have not yet located the grave. A magnetometer was employed for the experiments, which allows for the discovery of buried human-made things like walls and home foundations. Located about 300 kilometers south of Baghdad and 150 kilometers north of Basra, Uruk is located in a marshy area. Evidence of writing, signs of housing and gardening, and a complex canal system suggest that at its peak, this city was among the greatest in the world. The contemporary country of Iraq takes its name from this prosperous metropolis, which grew to trade between the Mediterranean, the Gulf, and India. The layout of Iraq, described in the Epic of Gilgamesh, has been somewhat corroborated by modern mapping efforts. Experts agree that the collection of poetry is a literary gem from ancient Iraq and ranks among the best in the world. The story follows the legendary hero Gilgamesh as he seeks out the secrets of eternal life. The biblical account of Noah's Ark has been connected to the portion of the epic that describes a catastrophic flood. However, the existence of Gilgamesh is contested. Even though he is the focus of the epic, he also has a superhuman status in other stories, as befits a demigod. The German Archaeological Institute's Ricardo Eichmann shot down rumors that Gilgamesh's tomb was soon to be discovered. He noted that the anomaly discovered through soil magnetization research was troublesome. He said it was pure speculation to link it to Gilgamesh and instead suggested it was from the 1st century BC or about 1,500 years later. He compared it to claiming the legendary King Arthur, Lord of Camelot, actually existed. The river's path is shifted by several kilometers over the ages, so we don't even know where it ran at that time, he said. However, due to the ongoing US-led war in Iraq, the archaeologists were not able to return to the site at that time. In February, the team planned to make a comeback. Mr. Eichmann stated that they intended to return when the political climate was favorable, but that was highly doubtful that they would be able to do so by 2018. In the meanwhile, they intend to set up protection surrounding the area to prevent looting. In the epic, Gilgamesh rules over the Sumerian city of Uruk, whose king lists include the name of Gilgamesh. Therefore, it's assumed that this is a case of a real figure developing into a semi-legendary hero whose exploits inspired spectacular epic tales. Through hardship and introspection, the hybristic, conceited King Gilgamesh of the Epic of Gilgamesh is transformed into a noble leader. Along with the struggle and eventual friendship with the wild guy Enkidu, who represents the hero's alter ego, the hero's journey to fame includes meeting and befriending the goddess Inanna. His exploits include a hazardous rejection of the love goddess Ishtar and fighting with monster creatures like the cedar forest protector Humbaba and the bull of heaven. Gilgamesh's physical and mental journey also includes the death of a close friend as a result of divine wrath, as well as the agony and confusion caused by these events, which drive the hero to explore the furthest reaches of the known world in pursuit of resolution. Gilgamesh doesn't become the king he was destined to be until he dies and returns from the afterlife. In doing so, he also comes to terms with his own mortality. After hearing Ut-Napishtim's account of how he and his family made it through the flood and how the god Enlil immortalized him and his wife, he gets to the conclusion. Gilgamesh is helped on his journey by a number of deities and solitary figures, such as Siduri, a female tavern keeper. The most moving piece of counsel she gives Gilgamesh comes from the old Babylonian version and is the first known example of the Carpe Diem concept. The legend of Gilgamesh spread far and wide throughout the ancient Near East, gaining massive popularity outside of Mesopotamia. Some of its elements can even be found in Greek epics and myths. Several versions of the epic dating back to the 2nd and 1st millennium BCE have been preserved in physical form thanks to the Mesopotamian writing system. In clay tablets and to archaeological excavations, in contrast to the Homeric and other epics, which have come to us through medieval manuscripts at the end of a long process of editing and copying. Because the manuscripts we have are not from a single version but are fragmentary documents from many times and places, the textual history of what we call the Epic of Gilgamesh is fantastically intricate. The sections that follow detail the major events of this textual epic journey. Traditions dating back to the Ur-3 period, also known as the 3rd dynasty of Ur, around the end of the 3rd millennium BCE, from 2094 to 2047 BCE, contain the earliest known Sumerian fragments of poems concerning Gilgamesh. Instead of lengthy epic poems, these were standalone tales centering on Gilgamesh. For example, in the poem Gilgamesh Enkidu in the Netherworld, Enkidu is trapped in the Netherworld after descending there at Gilgamesh's request to retrieve some items. The sun god Utu grants Gilgamesh a brief reunion with his friend, and the two discuss what they see in the Netherworld, including the fates of people who lived and died in specific ways. Babylonian scribes who wrote in Akkadian yet preserved these ancient Sumerian tales, much like how ancient Greek scholars copied Homer, did so because of the book's reputation and cultural significance. During the 2nd millennium BCE, Akkadian was used to write the larger portions of the Gilgamesh epic, such as the poems surpassing all other kings. The Old Babylonian version is another name for this. However, the next period, the Late Bronze Age, from about 1550 to 1200 BCE, saw the most widespread copying of the epic, meaning that similar to Homer and Hesiod in the ancient Greek world, this epic had reached the status of a classic and was being passed down as high literature as well as being utilized for instructional purposes. Gilgamesh manuscripts have been discovered at Mesopotamian scribal schools, and we also know that verses from Gilgamesh might be extracted for ceremonial usage, as seen, for example, in Hittite texts. Translations of the Epic of Gilgamesh circulated outside of Mesopotamia, with evidence found in the Levant as Ugarit, Imar, and Megiddo, and in Anatolia at Hattusa, the Hittite capital, outside of Akkadian. The next extended version of the Epic of Gilgamesh, found on tablets from the 1st to middle millennium BCE in the royal libraries of Assyria and Babylonia, is the most complete version that has been made to us. The first tablets carrying this version were discovered in 1849 by British explorer and diplomat Austin H. Layard in the remains of Ashurbanipal's palace in Nineveh. The originals from which our copies were made were likely written sometime between the 13th and 11th centuries BCE, even though our copies only date to the 1st millennium CE. This translation is the most comprehensive and has literary Akkadian that is pretty consistent throughout the tablets, hence it has earned the name Standard Babylonian Version, or SBV. It was originally titled He Who Solved the Deep, following the poem's first line, which suggests its antiquity. Most recent translations start with this text and then add lines from other texts to fill in the gaps. In general, Mesopotamian authors remained anonymous, but the standard version tablets were credited to a man named Sin Iacquinini. While there is no modern-day author to refer to, it is reasonable to believe that scribes were given considerable flexibility in expanding and revising the pre-existing text, with some scribes possibly being more forceful and successful than others. That's all for the video today, but we'll be right back with more video soon. So let us ask you to please give this video a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to our channel for more great content from us as well. Have a great rest of your day, and thanks for watching.